Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to dive into something pretty chilling. We're going to be talking about Krakatoa,
Krakatoa.
the volcano that produced the loudest sound in recorded history. And we're going to be looking at some excerpts from another podcast that framed this event in a pretty terrifying way.
They did a great job. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? They're not exaggerating.
Yeah.
But we're going to sort of unpack this a little bit and look at the science behind the horror.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it. I mean, it's a fascinating event.
It is fascinating, yeah.
And I think one of the things that makes it so unsettling is that it wasn't just a bang. It was really like a planetary scream. I mean, we're talking about a sound so powerful that it circled the globe 7 times. So imagine that echoing in your skull for days on end.
Oh, God. I'm already getting goosebumps. Okay, so let's set the scene here. August 27th, 1883. Krakatoa is this volcanic island nestled between Java and Sumatra. Was there any sense at the time of what was to come?
Well, there were tremors, and there were some smaller eruptions in the months prior, but nothing to suggest the sheer scale of what was about to happen.
And then 310 decibels.
Yeah.
That number's been thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
But can you give us some context? What does that actually mean in terms of noise?
Well, think of a jet engine at takeoff.
Okay.
That's around 150 decibels.
Wow.
Krakatoa was more than double that.
So you're saying that if a jet engine is 150, Krakatoa is over 300.
Yeah, and at 190 decibels, sound itself actually becomes lethal.
Oh, wow.
This wasn't just something that you heard. It was a force that pummeled your body.
Wow. Okay, so people thousands of miles away, they didn't just hear it, they felt it.
Precisely. A pressure wave radiating outwards like the Earth itself was recoiling in pain.
Oh, my God.
There are accounts of sailors 40 miles away having their eardrums ruptured.
Oh, my goodness.
Just imagine that wave hitting you, out of the blue, no explanation.
Oh, my God. I would think it was the apocalypse.
Right.
Which, for the people that were closer to Krakatoa, it practically was. So let's talk about the tsunamis.
The tsunamis, yeah. So these were not your average waves. These were walls of water, over 100 feet high.
My God.
Surging inland, wiping entire towns off the map. Our sources describe scenes of utter devastation, bodies tossed amongst wreckage, landscapes just unrecognizable. Over 36,000 people were lost in the waves alone.
Wow. It's almost hard to grasp that kind of destruction. But Krakatoa's fury didn't stop there, did it? The ash cloud that had global consequences, too.
Yeah, so imagine a shroud of darkness spreading across the planet, volcanic ash so thick that it blocked out the sun, causing global temperatures to plummet. Crops withered, sunsets turned an eerie blood red. This wasn't just a local event.
Right.
It was a wound on the world itself.
Okay, so this is terrifying and fascinating in equal measure. But there's another layer to this horror story, isn't there? Krakatoa wasn't quite finished?
You're talking about Anak Krakatoa.
Anak Krakatoa.
Yeah. Child of Krakatoa. A new volcano, rising from the watery grave of its parent. It's a constant reminder that the Earth is capable of unimaginable violence.
And this child, it's still active.
Oh, yeah.
It erupted as recently as 2018, almost like a warning echo of that monstrous sound from the past.
A reminder that the forces that birthed that sound, that reshaped the planet in a single terrible day, they're still at work beneath our feet. And we've barely scratched the surface of this story.
Welcome back to our exploration of Krakatoa. You know it's more than just a disaster. It's a glimpse into the raw, terrifying power of the planet itself.
Last time we left off with that chilling image of Anak Krakatoa still simmering away, like it's a stark reminder that the Earth is always moving, always changing. And sometimes those changes are catastrophic.
And Krakatoa is a perfect example of the just immense forces that are constantly at play beneath our feet. We're talking about plate tectonics, where massive sections of the Earth's crust are grinding against each other.
Okay, plate tectonics, I vaguely remember that from school, but how does that connect to Krakatoa specifically? Well, Krakatoa sits smack dab in what's called the Ring of Fire.
The Ring of Fire.
Yeah, it's a zone that encircles the Pacific Ocean, where these plates are constantly colliding, and the pressure, the friction, it's unimaginable. It generates magma, which rises to the surface, and boom, you get volcanoes.
So Krakatoa and all those other volcanoes in the Ring of Fire, they're like pressure valves for the planet's rage.
In a way, yes. And the more we understand these processes, the better we can anticipate future hazards. Although predicting eruptions is still a work in progress.
Speaking of hazards, that 2018 eruption of Anak Krakatoa.
Right.
Thankfully, it wasn't on the same scale as its parent, but it still caused significant damage.
It was a brutal reminder that even smaller eruptions can unleash devastating tsunamis. In this case, the eruption triggered a landslide on the volcano's flank, displacing a huge volume of water. and over 400 lives were lost, and the destruction was widespread.
So even if we understand the forces at play, are there any reliable warning signs for an eruption like Krakatoa? Can we even begin to prepare for something that catastrophic?
Well, scientists are always monitoring volcanoes around the world, looking for signs of increased activity, changes in gas emissions, ground deformation, seismic activity. It's like trying to read the Earth's pulse, looking for any indication that it's about to have a seizure.
But it's not an exact science, right?
Yeah,
There's always a chance of a sudden, unexpected eruption.
that's the terrifying truth. We can study, we can monitor, but the Earth ultimately holds the cards, and sometimes it plays them close to its chest.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's a pretty chilling thought. But I have to ask, we've talked a lot about the destructive power of volcanoes, but they also play a vital role in shaping our planet, don't they?
That's the paradoxical beauty of it. Volcanic ash, over time, enriches the soil, making it incredibly fertile. Volcanic activity has sculpted some of the most breathtaking landscapes on Earth. It's both creator and destroyer.
It's that balance that makes it so fascinating and honestly so terrifying.
Yeah.
But going back to the 1883 eruption, that sound, 310 decibels.
It's hard to even comprehend.
It is.
The pressure wave was so intense, it was recorded on barometers worldwide, literally circling the globe 7 times. There are accounts of people hundreds of miles away being knocked unconscious by the sheer force of the sound.
There's something so primal, so unsettling about that. It makes you realize how vulnerable we are to the forces of
It
nature.
really does.
But as you said, life did recover, even after such a cataclysmic event.
That's the amazing thing about life. It's resilience. It finds a way, even in the face of unimaginable devastation. Krakatoa, in a way, shows us both the destructive power of nature and the incredible tenacity of life itself.
So what have we learned from Krakatoa, beyond the sheer terror of it all? What's the takeaway, the deeper meaning of this event?
Krakatoa serves as a stark, visceral reminder of the power of nature and the importance of understanding our place within it. You know, we often see ourselves as separate from nature, but this event shows how interconnected we truly are. Our actions, or in this case, the Earth's actions, can have ripple effects that are felt across the globe.
It's a message that feels even more urgent today. As we face the growing challenges of climate change and environmental degradation, it's almost like Krakatoa is a warning from the past.
Exactly. It's a call to action, urging us to act responsibly in the present to secure a safer, more sustainable future. We need to learn from Krakatoa, not just fear it.
And those lessons, they're about more than just volcanoes.
Right.
It's about respecting the delicate balance of our planet's systems, understanding that even seemingly small actions can have far-reaching consequences.
Precisely. Krakatoa isn't just a story of destruction. It's a story of interconnectedness, resilience, and the need for a more harmonious relationship with our planet.
Well said. And on that note, we'll take a moment to gather our thoughts before diving into the final part of our Krakatoa deep dive.
Join us next time as we explore the ongoing scientific investigations into this fascinating and formidable volcano. We'll delve into what Krakatoa continues to teach us about our planet, ourselves, and the delicate balance that sustains us all.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring this eruption that sent shockwaves not just across the globe, but through history itself, Krakatoa.
Yeah, we've covered the sheer destructive force, the tsunamis, the global impact. It's hard to even wrap your mind around a sound powerful enough to circle the planet 7 times.
Yeah, it's almost like Krakatoa became this ghost story for the planet, a warning whispered on the wind. But today, we're not just here to be terrified.
Right.
We're trying to learn from this event.
Precisely, and that's where the real depth dive comes in. Even over a century later, Krakatoa is still teaching us valuable lessons, especially when it comes to understanding how these monstrous forces work.
So even though this happened in 1883, scientists are still actively studying Krakatoa. What kind of information can they possibly glean from something that old?
It's more than you might think. We have eyewitness accounts. Some of them are chillingly detailed. There are ship logs, weather records from around the world that captured the eruption's impact. And of course, there's the geological evidence, the ash deposits, the remnants of the island itself.
It's like piecing together a puzzle. But instead of a pretty picture, we're reconstructing a cataclysm.
Exactly, and technology helps us dig even deeper. Scientists have used sonar to map the seafloor around Krakatoa, revealing the contours of the caldera, the submerged portions of the volcano. It's like looking into a watery grave.
Okay, that image is both cool and creepy.
Mm-hmm.
But all this data, what's it actually teaching us?
Well, it helps us refine models of how volcanoes behave, how eruptions unfold. The more we understand the mechanisms, the better equipped we are to predict and hopefully mitigate future disasters.
So it's not just morbid curiosity. There's a practical, almost hopeful side to this research.
Absolutely. Krakatoa, for all its horror, has advanced the field of volcanology immensely. It's a stark reminder of what's possible, but it's also driven innovation in how we study and monitor these forces.
But let's be real. Predicting volcanic eruptions is still unpredictable.
Right. Even with all our technology, are we any closer to knowing when the next Krakatoa might happen? It's a humbling question. We've made progress, but volcanoes are complex systems. Influenced by factors we're still uncovering, there's always an element of uncertainty.
Which brings us back to Anak Krakatoa, still looming out there. Are scientists watching it closely? Could it erupt on the same scale as its parent?
Oh, they are watching it very closely, believe me. As for its potential, Anak Krakatoa is still growing, still active. A large-scale eruption is possible, though thankfully the geological conditions aren't identical to 1883.
So while there's reason to be cautious, it's not necessarily a doomsday scenario. But what have we, the average folks, learned from Krakatoa beyond the science? What should we take away from this story?
For me, it's a potent reminder of our interconnectedness with the planet. Krakatoa wasn't just a local event, its echoes were felt globally. It highlights how seemingly distant events can have ripple effects we might not even anticipate.
Yeah, it makes you think about climate change, doesn't it? How our actions in one place can impact the entire world. Krakatoa is a natural disaster, but it underscores the potential for human actions to have similar widespread consequences.
That's a sharp observation. And ultimately, that's the lasting legacy of Krakatoa, isn't it? It's a story of immense power, but also of resilience, adaptation, and the interconnectedness of all life on Earth. It forces us to acknowledge the forces at play, both natural and those we create ourselves.
That's a lot to process, that's for sure. But I think that's the point of a deep dive like this, isn't it? To go beyond the surface, to grapple with the complex questions, and hopefully emerge with a deeper understanding of our place in the world.
Well said. And perhaps with a renewed sense of awe and respect for the forces that shape our planet, both beautiful and terrifying as they may be.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Krakatoa. Until next time, stay curious and maybe listen closely to the sounds around you. You never know what whispers of history might be carried on the wind.